Hey math kids, today we're going to talk about division by surds. We are in section 3B in your book, and we're going to start on example 7. So it says write an integer denominator. So remember integers, what integers are. They're defined in this book as all the whole numbers and as well as negative. Okay, so we want the denominator to look like that. So we have 6 over square root of 5. So the way we want to approach this is we multiply by a special 1, like that. So square root of 5 times square root of 5 is going to be square root of 25, which is 5. So try to get in the habit of just being able to see that a root times itself is just going to be that number under the root. So in this case it's a 5. And then we're going to have 6 root 5 on top. And that's the answer that they want. And then we also come to 35 over root 7. We multiply the top and the bottom by root 7. Root 7 times root 7 is just 7. And then we're left with 35 root 7 on top. Okay, so that's everything on that one. And then the next example says to write this with an integer denominator. So it's asking essentially the same thing. On the previous video, I briefly mentioned conjugates. And so that's what we need to do, is multiply by the conjugates. Remember, the conjugate is something that looks exactly the same, except for the second part, we changed the sign. So notice how we kept the sign on the 3, but changed the sign on the root 2. And we always need to attach that to the radical piece. So we have a real piece and a surd. So we're going to attach it to the surd. So when we do that, we do 3 times 3, we get 9. 3 times root 2, we get 3 root 2. 3 times negative root 2 is negative 3 root 2. And then negative root 2 and root 2 is going to be negative 2, because it's the same thing under the radical, right? Or another way you could think of it is root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which also turns into a 2. Okay, we do the same thing on top. Distribute this 5 to both of these. We get 15 plus 5 root 2. Now we just need to simplify the bottom. Now if you use a conjugate, it will always get rid of the middle terms. So if you do that correctly, then we do 9 and negative 2 makes us 7. That's an integer. So once we write the top, we know that we have the correct answer. And that's everything from that section. If you need additional help, please come to Math Lab and calculator.